I love looking in his room, and he's still sleeping. And so I, tousle his hair and kiss him goodbye when I leave for work.
Yeah.
But because he's a full-time employed man, I don't give him chores to do. And thus, he doesn't do them.
Yeah.
So I think that's where our frustration lies.
It's Channel Mom with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you.
1 in 5 people in their 20s and early 30s is currently living with his or her parents, and 60% of all young adults receive financial support from their parents. Wow. So 1 in 5 compared to 1 in 10, a generation ago. And apparently in Canada, 40% of 20 and 30 somethings are living with their parents. So this is a huge trend. And part of it has to do with having gone to college and having a college debt. So the question must be asked, is college effective anymore if people are found in a position where all they're doing is paying off debt for the first 10 years and they're having a hard time finding a job to justify those years of expensive college? Fascinating discussion. What unfolded in your son's life, Jimmy? What unfolded that brought him back home? And it sounds like he was a responsible young man. He went out to get his college degree, but then what happened?
And there really isn't anything that he did wrong. And I don't think there's anything that us parents did wrong.
Okay.
He went and he lived at college. He got his 4-year degree in 4 years, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
He is early childhood education, and he graduated a year ago, May, with only $26,000 in debt, which I think is a pretty darn good number.
Yeah, there's much worse. Yeah.
There's much worse. He didn't have a job when he got out of college. He didn't have one waiting for him. So he spent a month in Europe with his friends, and then after that, obviously moved home because he had no job.
Yeah.
He did get hired in August and started working in August. So hopefully, he paid down his student loans. But I think the issue is there's really no incentive for him to move out.
Yes.
And I think that's what it is.
He's not paying rent, right?
He pays, well, and that's the thing. He does pay his, he earns his full-time wage, and he pays his student loans, and he pays his car payment, and he pays his health insurance through his job. But he has no necessities.
Yeah.
He pays no rent. He has no utilities.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to go to the grocery store.
Because mom's still cooking.
So when you think about the fact that, he can do all of this and we're paying for all of the necessities. So when you become empty nesters and you're like, heck, on Thursday, we're going to go to dinner. We're still eating the ramen noodles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going out. So, we're talking about, we've struggled.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess a decade, a generation. We know what it was like to leave the nest after college and to rent an apartment that wasn't in the best side of town.
Right.
And we slept on furniture that was brought from the Goodwill.
Yeah.
And, but the kids now, they don't know that.
There's a part of me that wants to say, what a good mom you are, that you still love on him and he still loves you enough to live with you. The other part wants to say, what have we done wrong, either as parents or as a society, where our kids are in this jam that they find out they paid for these exorbitant educations, which we've kind of enabled, frankly, as a country.
Correct. Correct.
And I almost want to compare it to the mortgage bubble, where we provided all this assistance for people to get houses, and then it exploded when they couldn't pay for their houses. And now that's kind of happening in education. And I'm going to throw something else at you, which I'm going to talk about on the show tomorrow. Part of it is a trend away from marriage. Fewer people than ever in American history are getting married. And so when you have that dynamic, frankly, marriage is good for the economy. And I'm a big proponent of marriage and family staying together. And so if fewer kids are getting married, now you don't have two incomes coming into that household, even when they're living together, because they tend to separate their incomes, unlike when they're married. It creates a bad dynamic for a healthy household in some cases. So
I agree.
So yeah,